Hey there, I'm Zachary, and I'm here to review the latest Pixar film, Lightyear. As far as everyone can tell you, it's got a mixed bag. Anyone from seasoned veterans of the seasoned fans of the series can tell you it's alright. But I'm here to put in my personal thoughts on the film. Having seen it in theaters, saw it myself, I can say it's not that bad. Granted, it's not the best, but it's also not as bad as people are making it out to be. It's certainly a good Pixar film. With any origin story, you're gonna find issue with it, especially if it's one as popular as Buzz Lightyear of Toy Story. You'll find issues here and there, even ones you don't want to admit they're there, are there. Even myself, I saw it. But I'm here to give my own unbiased opinion on it. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything big. I'm not going to say the plot, the story, anything like. Okay, that may be double negative, but still, the idea is not going to say what's going to happen in the film. I will only go as far as what the original trailers revealed on the story. So anything past the protagonist, the antagonist, minor characters, all have to be seen by yourself. This is just my opinion. I made an unbiased opinion because before I saw the film in theaters, I spent the last few days marathoning the first three Toy Story films, as well as Buzz Lightyear from Star Command The Adventure Begins, so I can make sure that my opinion is solid based on rewatching the films and not memory alone, so I can give a clear, concise thought on it. Now, as far as how much I love the film and what I disliked about it, I'll separate in two parts. First, the dislikes. Admittedly, I didn't care for how many filler moments there were, how much they had to stretch that point. Like, even one where you just like, what was the point of this? And why was it there? Like, at all, to begin with? You'll be like that. You'll be like, why am I watching this? And why is this important? And that's fine. With all the other stuff that happens, even in the following scenes for when that occurs, it's felt needed in a sense. Then there's also the overall story, which, like I said, won't go past the trailers, which is Buzz, or Mr. Lightyear himself, going way into the future with a new companion. Now, I can see some complaints with that. Me myself, I found it a little odd that they went that route. Like, when you think of space stories, you think of that, but not with a convoluted time travel plot. But I'll get that in a sec. Then there's also things I didn't much care for, like, say, the side characters, the new additions to the roster, which some slashed way too early. That they were unimportant, that they didn't matter, and in a sense, they were kind of right. But at least they kept things interesting. The reason why people dislike them, myself included, is because they weren't a part of the original format. That of Buzz being a space ranger and being about saving the universe, keeping it safe, and all that. Admittedly, they were annoying at first. How much they looked to be, then were something else, which I always hated. That, like, I hate that whole you're led to believe this one thing, and then there turned out to be something else. Like, I myself can spot that sort of twist a mile away because I've seen it done so many times, and this one is no exception because it isn't that well executed. Because even by the trailer standards, you can somewhat guess what's going to happen. Then there's the other thing regarding the antagonist. We all knew it's going to be Zurg. I mean, he's the only one in the original format of Buzz, the Rangers, and the villain, Evil Emperor Zurg. Now, without getting into spoilers, he was interesting for what they were going for. As far as that whole time travel plot goes, it seemed like a good idea. Young kids may get a kick out of it. Adults, I could easily see tear it in half. Like I myself was ready to discredit it as unoriginal and not even that well done. But as I watched on, it grew on me because of how well it was executed as well as the protagonist. Then, okay, I got that out of the way, all my regular thoughts on disliked moments. The rest of the film was marginally good, if a bit cliche in my eyes. I could see things that were gonna happen, like this one thing's gonna happen because, oh yeah, he did that one thing. I know that may not make sense, but if you ever see a film that hints at something, like a subtle foreshadowing, in like the first act, and you feel like it's gonna be relevant in the third or fourth, that's how it's gonna be. Like, you'll feel that it's gonna be there, but in this film's case, it's present throughout. And it's not a bad thing. It keeps things interesting, but when you're with that constant reminder, it can tread on a little deep. Like, to the point where you're like, can we just cut this for a moment? But what this film has going for it is the ever changing cycle whenever it's occurring. How to explain it without giving much away is difficult, but I can tell you that they don't just go for the whole Back to the Future deal or any other time traveling plot, trying to make it too complicated. Admittedly, they did a little, but also you felt that it's earned since when it shows off the points in between, you really feel for the film, which is one of my greater compliments for it. The emotion. Above all else, this is Buzz's journey. Journey from being a confident ranger to an actual hero. The hero that inspired the toy that Andy originally got. And then there's the whole story arc for him. How much he believes himself to be at fault for what he did, how he got the whole crew stranded there in that one planet and need to get home. He's not doing it for selfish reasons. He just wants to make up his promise. Get his friends, his family, his colleagues, the people he accidentally got stranded back home to where they belong, where he believed they'd be happier than a random planet. Now, you may be thinking that I would complain about what else could have happened, if you're watching this after you saw the film or heard about the spoilers. I myself found it alright. I didn't think it needed any more than it had there. It had a good amount of what it was going for, as far as space, the adventure, the interactions. I mean, it could have done well, but also with how it was playing out, it would have seemed a little too extra, like to the point where you're wondering, why were they even included? Because it would be given so little time. And that's another thing. I love the film. I would recommend it, especially like a big thing I want to recommend throughout this whole thing. If you plan to see that film, I recommend marathoning Toy Story, Toy Story 2, and Toy Story 3 before all that. Because it'll have references, nods, winks, and all that towards the film, and you're like, oh, and like, oh, that makes more sense. And some lines you feel like fit more there than the rest of the Toy Story film when they were used. Why not mention Toy Story 4, you may ask? Because it was mainly focusing on Buzz's journey throughout the first three, when he grew and all that, where I felt like he regressed a little bit to the point of he was just a ready, willing ranger than he was a coherent man. Like, he's been throughout majority of Toy Story 1 and 2. But I'm not gonna rant about that. That film's been ranted enough, and I thought it was okay. That film was okay. Lightyear, I would say, is a bit better, if not for the whole plot and the reasoning behind it all. Now that I've gotten out of the way my complaints and likes towards the film, I'm going to address something serious regarding it. That of the reaction it has on the world. How people, fans, old and new, have reacted when seeing this. And I gotta say, they were a little too unfair to not give this film a decent enough chance. Why? Because it wasn't as bad. Reason why I felt it was good, I didn't hype it up as much as I wanted to. When the film was announced, I blocked out anything that was relevant past the normal trailers. I didn't want to be surprised by it. I wanted to be completely surprised. I didn't want to have any spoilers on characters or anything. And it worked out in my favor because if I did, a lot of moments would have seemed like a little bit much. But a major complaint is how many people say, this is not what we were promised. We were not promised this. We were promised Buzz's origin. But here's the thing. When the film came out and the trailers, they said in them and the beginning of the film, this is not related to the toy in those previous films. You're not going to see any references of Woody or Andy or his whole journey as a toy. You're going to see his origin behind marketing it like that. Like, say, think you were a kid watching the newest Star Wars film and you're like, why are they doing this? Because it was based off of the original Star Wars films back in the day when they were still popular. That's basically what this film is. Like, it's the build up to all that merchandise. It's built up to that extended universe that you see everywhere. Because that's what it said. It's what the director said, the actors, the very few moments of the film itself addressed that issue. Like, this is not really much of a spoiler as it is just a fact I want out there, as when the film even starts, there is a wall of text that says, this film is the very film Andy saw when he was a kid and then his mom got him the toy for his birthday. That's the only connection you'll get from the original film. Like, you may see or hear some lines here and there, but also when you think about it, it makes sense they were there. Now, I'm going to address the biggest controversy in this film. And what is that exactly? The kissing scene. Okay, I know anyone who's heard about this film has probably heard about that. Like, when I first saw it, like I said, it kept unbiased, didn't see any reviews, didn't see anything big. All I saw was what I saw then. Nothing was spoiled for me except for that kiss, which, when I saw, I thought people were being outraged because they alluded to the fact that when they kissed, it was on screen. But from what I saw, it was like barely close. Like close and then cuts away. But I had no idea at the time that the theaters were censoring it. That they were partially annoying, like people were annoyed at that kiss. And I'm like, why was that such a big deal to just cut out? I mean, especially when it was so close. Like when I saw it, it was very close to the actual contact before cutting away. So what was the point of that if it's going to allude to it to begin with? Like, sure, it may cut away, but I know they're going to kiss. Like, and I'm a grown man. Like, I could easily tell that. And so could any of the parents, as well as the kids even watching. They could see their parents or other people kissing. Like, just cutting away is both unfair and very convoluted. Like, you see this You see this couple looking happy, they're explaining to be happy, and then boom, cut away because oh, it's like too graphic. Don't want to show my kids that, but that's not the point. Kids should be allowed to learn on their own, and if the parents are too unclear enough to tell their kids enough how much it matters to see if you have two men or even two women kissing, that it's not unnatural, it's love. You can't break that. You can't stop it. What is constituted by that is the fact that it's not a simple throwaway thing, it's a build-up showing that there was love, there was commitment, there was emotion in their relationship enough to do that. And you could feel it and see it in their voices and expressions, how much they really cared for one another. Now, I know that may seem like much, but with so few accurate representations of LGBTQ plus representations lately in modern media, or at least that's allowed, that's past like say channel originals or throwaway gags, it's rare to see something, especially from a big company like Disney and Pixar, to put themselves out there like that. Like, I will legitimately outrage if the scene isn't fully there when it's finally on Disney Plus. I'm not even joking. Like, for them to just cut away like that is annoying because it was not there unintentionally. It was there for a purpose. The biggest thing between two people who love each other to show their love for one another, aside from that ring of promise, is a kiss. Kids need to see that and to know that it's okay to see that. It's okay to have emotion that deep. Sorry, I went off the trails a little bit. It's just this was an emotional thing, and I found this out recently, and I was angered by it. As far as how the film was overall, unbiased, from my own standpoint, I'm not gonna try and make it a big deal, but my own standpoint was that of this: a solid 7 out of 10. A solid family film, an action film, entertainment sci fi. You'll get a few laughs, you'll get a few tears, like any good Disney film should. Any good Pixar, even. If you love Toy Story, if you love Buzz, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. If you want more Buzz like that when he was original Ranger, like he was in the first film, or even his clone in the second, that's what you'd want. You want him to be the way he was: Space Ranger, out in the field, but fighting monsters, all that. You can't go wrong with that unless you want to see Lightyear Star Command, which I would recommend if you can find it somewhere because it was still a decent enough show, as well as the movie that started it. But if you want an honest opinion for your own self, don't listen to reviews, don't listen to big names like that, or even the news. Make your own opinion your own. I chose to judge the film not by what I heard or what I saw. I chose to make it my own because that's what I wanted, and that's what anyone should do when discussing things they want to see. If they want to say this film was crap, then that's fine. That's what they choose to. But as long as they choose it from their own standpoint, not that of their own viewing of previous reviews or anything like that. Because above all else, your opinion matters. Your separate opinion that isn't based on everyone else's facts. Well, that was a rant. Anyway, thank you for watching. I am happy to have had my word out in this. Bye.